Hello and welcome back to the Bridgeport and Project Hercules diaries. It's a thinking kind of day today. One of those days when it's a bit cold and it's a bit miserable, so I'm just pottering around the garage having a thinking about the next job. The next job is in fact to try and cut the circlip grooves, 2 in the timing side and 1 in the drive side engine cases. So I have Exhibit A, my lord. This is a 100mm circlip. It's one of the standard circlips that the designer Bob's very cleverly identified here. So it's 100mm by 0.118 inches thickness, and that's a standard Anderson circlip. So I bought 2 packets of 2, so I've got 4 of these, got a spare, and there's 2 on the timing side, either side of these main bearings, and there's 1 on the drive side to hold the seal and the roller bearing in place. So to cut those in to the engine cases, it's quite a bit of work, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to zip over to the engine cases and show you on the metal where they need to go. Boom, here we go. So these are the engine cases, this is the drive side. One of these circlips needs to go in here, so we need a groove just on the inside at the right depth, and 2 circlips will go in here, probably about midway down, as per the diagram. So what I need to do, I need to cut 2 slots in this engine case and 1 slot in this engine case so these circlips can go in. Now, cutting the slots themselves isn't too difficult. I've got a slot cutting R8 arbor that will go into the Bridgeport, and I've got a series of old slitting saws that will probably do the job. Slitting saw would fit inside here nicely. This goes on a rotary table. I then move it so it starts to cut and then rotate the whole thing round. They are not the sharpest and not the best, so I may have to buy one. Ooh, ouch. That pains me to do that because that'll cost me sort of 20 quid or so. But, you know, you have to suffer for your art, don't you? So I may have to buy one, but we've got the means to cut the slit. The difficulty is the size of the cases. Now on this one I could push out the insert that I made in the previous video and put the insert itself on a rotary table. That would make it quite a simple job, but on this engine case I don't have the option, so the whole engine case is going to have to go on a rotary table with this main bearing bore hole centered on that rotary table, and then the whole thing is going to have to go round through 360 in the machine, and it's quite a big thing. So what I'm thinking about is over on the Bridgeport, which I'll just zip back to now. Whoosh, here we go. So on the Bridgeport I've got this big sheet of steel that we used previously to do the drilling of the engine cases. We bolted this to the table so it was big enough to take the engine cases. So this sheet of steel I'm going to put onto my rotary table. It's the biggest table I've got. It's only 12 inches, although it's quite a big table. Most of it is just wasted space. I suppose it was for suds oil or something, and it's a bit old, but it'll do the job. So about 10 inches apart I'm going to have to drill this table about 10 inches apart. It's 5 inches either side of the center line, so I can bolt this to here. And I'm quite keen not to end up with this massive piece of steel. It's quite expensive, looking like a bit of Swiss cheese, because you don't want it full of holes. So we're trying to keep the number of holes to minimum. So the things to think about are, do we drill perpendicular to these tapped holes that are already here? Do we drill in line with them? Do we drill at 45 degrees? So that the minimum number of holes gives us the maximum amount of application. These are well spaced for bolting down the timing side when it's inverted, so I might be able to use those. The other thing to make sure is that when these holes are drilled in the plate and the bolts are fitted to bolt it to the rotary table, that the engine case will fit outside of these 2 bolts. Otherwise you'll have to countersink them, and I could countersink them, but again you end up with countersink holes and there's a bit less metal in place. So if I can avoid having to countersink the holes, I'll do that as well. But it's all to be thought about. all to be planned out rather than just go willy-nilly drilling holes and then realise you need to drill more than perhaps you could have got away with. So that's the thinking kind of day, and my immediate thought is that it's bloody freezing in here and I'm going to have a cup of tea, or no, better still, mulled wine, as it's nearly Christmas, mulled wine and a mince pie. That's the next thing on the list. Thanks for watching. I'll post an update when I've worked all this out and it's all set up ready to cut those slots.